There are stories out there from people that provide inspiration regardless what it is that we are involved with. Whether it's athletics, trading, starting a business, these stories can help us work through the most difficult times that we face in our lives. And in my new segment, Courage Stories, today I have the honor of welcoming Coach Paul Casey of A Better You to talk about his story from being down in the gutter to overcoming obstacles that you won't even believe to becoming a successful entrepreneur. All that and more in today's episode of Courage Stories. Check it out.
Always made with a fine line, a sweet being in a sweet skin, bringing pleasure to the sinner.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Courage Stories. I'm your host, Jeremy Ritz, and today we have a guest on the show that I'm very excited to talk to. It's none other than Paul Casey, Coach Paul, and his story is amazing, ladies and gentlemen, and I'm so excited for him to share that here today. He's an entrepreneur, successful entrepreneur, and this gentleman wears many hats successfully. And to speak to that, he's currently training for a bodybuilding competition on top of running his businesses. And his story will speak for itself. But the reason we're here, he posted this quote on his Facebook page, and and Paul, correct me if I'm wrong with this, but it said, I've failed more times than you've tried, with maybe some little colorful language in there. And when I saw that, I was like, I got to reach out to this guy. He posts great stuff. So, Paul, welcome to the show. I'm glad to have you here today.
What's up, Jeremy? Yeah, it's good to be here, man. And yeah, that's the quote said. I've failed more times than you've tried, right? And I mean, that's the reality of the entrepreneurship life, especially if you want to be successful. I mean, that's really the reality of any life, right? If you want to be successful, you have to be willing to take risks and fail as many times as it takes in order to learn from them. So I'm excited to be here, Jeremy.
Awesome, man. Well, let's jump a little into this here. And you're an entrepreneur, and obviously you didn't start there as a business owner, and your story really hardened you, strengthened you to persevere and be in the spot that you're in today. Can you just start by walking us through your story and how you got to where you are today as a business owner?
Absolutely. So, I mean, the quickest version, I grew up in a broken home. My mom was on drugs. My dad was physically and emotionally abusive. And, by the time I was 15 years old, I felt like nobody loved me, right? My mom didn't love me because she couldn't stop using drugs. My dad didn't love me because he couldn't stop hitting me. And so I was like, all right, well, I'm gonna go find love somewhere. So I started looking out in the world for love, and I started hanging out with the wrong crowd. 15 years old, I started using drugs. At that point, I started committing crimes. I started going in and out of juvenile hall, boys' homes, mental hospitals, even homelessness. So from 15 to 18, I spent most of my teen years incarcerated in some sort of facility, or homeless, running the streets. By the time I was 18, now I'm an adult. Same activities are going down. So I'm going in and out of jail now. Jail a couple times. I tried to hit a couple rehab facilities, try to get my life in order. I wasn't ready. 19 years old, I got raided. We talk about entrepreneurship. We're going to talk about that, but like I started my entrepreneurship in the criminal lifestyle, right? And so here I am being a criminal entrepreneur, and I ended up getting raided by the police. And when I got raided, I got caught with a bunch of drugs and a couple guns. And so because of that, I went to prison for the first time. I was sentenced to 3 years. I'm in California, and I think you're in California too, right, Jeremy?
I'm actually in PA.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Yeah, yeah, we are. We did talk about the East Coast time. My bad.
Yeah, it's all good.
Yeah, so in California, when you get sentenced to a crime, you have to do a percentage of it. Since it wasn't considered a violent crime, I did 50% of it. So I did about 19 months on that. I got out and kind of tried to make some changes. Like I thought, like if I got a little job and started going to school and had a girlfriend, like that would make me okay in society. But I hadn't really done any actual work on myself. And once again, I'm an entrepreneur. I don't like working for someone else, and I don't like someone else being in control of my life, my time, or my money. And but I didn't know how to switch that entrepreneurial mindset to something positive. And so I started hustling again. I started slinging drugs again, and that ended up I started using them again. And from there, I committed a crime. I was 22 years old. I was angry. I was on drugs. I pulled a gun on someone. I threatened to kill him, and because of that, I was looking at 27 years in prison.
Wow.
And so here I am, 22 years old, looking at 27 years in prison. And I ended up getting 10. I ended up taking it to trial. I ended up beating a handful of the cases that were against me, and I ended up getting 10 years. And I ended up doing the entire, a little bit over 10 years. And during those 10 years, it was a struggle. But once again, I was an entrepreneur, so I made it happen while I was in there. I did whatever I needed to do in order to support myself while I was in there. And towards the end, I had a life-changing experience that made me shift my thought process and my mindset around where I was going and what I was doing. And when I shifted that mindset and that thought process and decided I wanted to push myself a different direction and in a different manner, I started building out a plan to build a business, put together a business plan, and I got out and I started implementing what I had put together. It shifted, it changed. For anyone that's listening to this podcast that is an entrepreneur, your first idea probably isn't going to be the idea you end up running with for the rest of your life. Because for me, it shifted and changed based upon how life showed up for me. But I've been able to take that entrepreneurial spirit and shift with it. And because of that, I've been able to build a very successful life for myself. I have a beautiful family. I've got a girlfriend that I've been with for over 6 years. She's got two kids that, I consider my kids. We own a house together in a nice neighborhood. I own my own gym. I've got a bunch of clients. I mentor others. And I just have a beautiful life. And it's really because I shifted that mindset around where I used to be and where I wanted to go. And because I shifted that mindset, I was able to build my dreams, and I'm continuing to build my dreams.
That's fascinating. And, I've got this shirt on, I wore it specifically for this occasion. And it says, someone took the same situation you're in that you're complaining about and won with it. And I
Yeah.
think your story very much speaks to that. And, it probably looked at times like, how the hell am I ever going to get out of this? But you did. Was
Mhm.
there a pivotal moment where the light bulb came on, or was it a series of moments where you're like, I have to change? And what were the steps that you took to actually make those changes to have that shift in mindset?
Absolutely. That's a great question. So I would say it was kind of a series, right? And I always like to explain it. The month of August 2017, that was my life-changing month, right? And August is a very important month for me now because of multiple reasons. So what happened was, because I was incarcerated, I was supposed to do X amount of time. So out of the 10 years, I was supposed to do 8.5 years. I was fighting my case in the county jail for 6 months. So minus those 6 months. So 8.5, 6 months, I was going to do 9 years. Because I couldn't behave myself for most of my time in there, I had actually extended it to 10.5 years, right? The 6 months in the county and the full 10 years I was sentenced. So I basically maxed out my time. I was getting no good time credit. I was not going to get out early. I was going to do more than 10 years in prison off the 10 years I was sentenced to. And so what happened is August 1st, 2017, my release date, my original release date, the day I was supposed to go home came, but I wasn't going anywhere because I had extended my stay for an extra year and a half. So here it was, August 1st, 2017, my release date comes and I watch it go by. August 2nd, it comes again and I watch it go by. August 3rd, I'm like, all right, I'm not getting out. I'm like, I already screwed that off. I'm doing all my time here. But what happened during that month of August is like kind of a domino effect.
Mhm.
I was getting myself into some trouble while incarcerated, both with the police and with the people that, the affiliated, the gang affiliation I have while I'm in there. We don't have to talk about that, but like the people I run with in prison, I was getting myself in some trouble. I was running up dope debts. I was pissing people off. I was mad at myself. I hated myself. My homies hated me. Like everyone was just tired of my stuff, right?
Yeah.
My nonsense. And what ended up happening is over the month of August, I slowly started to like come out of this fog, right? And honestly, I started to run out of opportunities to get high too, right? Like people didn't want to give me drugs no more. And honestly, I was kind of just getting sick of it, man.
Mhm.
And so I used the last of what I had, and I kind of just slept for about a week, man. I was dope sick because I was using an opiate drug. I was dope sick for a little over a week. I mean, like throwing up and my skin was crawling and I had no energy and it was just like, it was really struggle, man.
Yeah.
And I woke up on August 30th, right? So August 30th, 2017. So this has been a month. I've been kind of like battling, like stopping, going, stop, like really trying to get off the drugs, but like struggling. August 30th, I woke up and I was kind of clear headed for the first time in a long time. My fog had lifted. I wasn't feeling sick. And I looked in the mirror and I saw myself. And at the time, I had really long hair and my cheeks were all sunken in. I had like black rings around my eyes. And at that time, I was like 33 years old and I looked like I was in my 50s, man. And I have a picture of that. I actually have a picture around that time that I've shared on my social media before. Like, I was shot out, Jeremy, man. Like I did not look like a human being anymore. And I saw myself, in prison, we got like these mirrors, but they're like stainless steel. They're not actual glass.
Hmm.
And people carve their names in them sometimes, or they scrape them or stuff, So there's a scratched prison mirror in the bathroom. And I just looked myself in this mirror and I was just like, wow, like that's not you, man. That's not
Yeah.
you. And I made a decision that day, like I was going to do something different. Right. And so that was like August 30th, 2007. That is now what I call my clean date. That is I probably was clean a few days before that because I wasn't using anything, but that was my first day I was lifted from the fog. And I talk about this anytime I talk about the entrepreneur journey, is I talk about like mentorship and coaching. I think mentorship, coaching is incredibly important. Right now in my business, I have a team that I'm working with, mentors and coaches that are helping me grow my gym. As I'm prepping for my bodybuilding show, I have a bodybuilding coach. As I'm learning how to pose for the stage, I have a posing coach. I have I've been doing a lot of speaking events. I've hired multiple speaking coaches. And I say that because I've always invested back in myself. And so the first step I made to actually making some changes was I asked for help. I found someone that could help me make those changes. And I always talk about this guy. His name is Fernando. I have to shout him out every chance I have. Fernando, if you ever listen to this podcast, I love you, brother. You saved my life. But I walked up to Fernando. And here's the thing about Fernando. I did not like Fernando. And here's why. Fernando went to school. Fernando went to church. Fernando didn't get high. I never seen Fernando get in a fist fight. Fernando didn't hustle. Fernando didn't do all the nonsense that I was participating in. And
Hmm.
I have now done a lot of internal work on myself. Some people call it shadow work, whatever you want to call it. But I realize now that I was jealous of Fernando. I was jealous of him because he was going to get out of prison and possibly never come back. And I was destined to stay in prison or die in the streets. And so I walked up to Fernando. I was like, hey, man, I need some help. August 30th, 2017, he said, I got you, man. And he knew I didn't like him, but he didn't care. He was willing to help me. And so he's like, I got you, man. Let's go to a meeting. And he took me to a meeting with him. And I don't really remember what happened at that meeting, but that was like the first aha moment. And I just started doing what Fernando was doing. I've worked with a lot of business coaches, and one of my favorite quotes I hear all the time is success leaves clues,
Hmm.
right? Success leaves clues. If you want to be successful in any area of your life, look at people that are successful in doing those things and then follow their lead. They're leaving you clues. They're showing you what works. And so I just started following what Fernando was doing. And because I started following what Fernando was doing, I started to grow. I started to learn. I started to become a better human being. And I actually got some time knocked off of my sentences, was able to get out slightly over 10 years rather than 10 and a half years.
Okay. Wow. Wow. So mentorship is something that's important to you and really helped you kind of break that cycle. And you mentioned something there about shadow work, doing the internal work on yourself. What did that look like? And how did that process kind of flow for you to help you overcome things?
That's a great question. I think it's not really a what did it look like because it's a constant evolving tool, right? And what I mean by that, like for me at the start, it was just, you know, learning more about myself. And the more I stayed clean off of drugs and the more I participated in different self-help groups that I was in, the more questions I was being prompted to ask myself. And it's just like in business, right? If you want to grow in your business, you have to ask questions about yourself, but about your business, about your clients, about your your niche, whatever that might be. You have to learn about those things. So I had to learn more about me. I had to learn who I was, what makes me tick, what makes me respond or react in certain situations. But then a lot of it is also, like I said, it's an evolving thing because a lot of it comes from taking a risk or making a mistake and then being able to reflect on that. Like, all right, I just did this. That wasn't the
Mhm.
smartest move. Here's what came about of it. How could I have done it differently? And how can I fix it in the future? You know? And so now, like, looking at it over time, at first, it might have looking at a behavior or looking at something that's happened in my life might have one meaning now, and 10 years from now, it might have a different meaning.
Mhm.
And so going back to the idea of Fernando, like it took me a few rounds of like looking at like why didn't I like Fernando for me to finally realize it. And it took me talking to people about it, like I have different, once again, not just coaches, but different mentors, different people I look up to, that have evolved in their own lives, that have given me information or tools that I can use to evolve in my life. And that's like something I do even with my clients, my coaching clients. There's no one size fits all for weight loss. It's not like,
Mhm.
oh, if you just do this one thing, no, I'm going to give you the foundation, follow the foundation. You're going to see results. Absolutely. But then there's going to be some changes along the way that we have to evolve or adjust. And I was talking to someone the other day and he was like, oh, I want to be a coach, but I want to be a coach that can teach people stuff. And then that way people don't have to work with me forever. But if you're doing the right thing, people should need to work for you for a long amount of time because
Yeah.
there's changes along the way, just like in my bodybuilding prep, right? We set a number for weight loss or body fat loss. I lost the body fat. We had to adjust that number. If I didn't have a coach to say, okay, now we up your carbs, we lower your carbs, we change your protein, someone helped me do that along the way, I wouldn't see the amazing results I've already seen. And I wouldn't be, 3 weeks out, almost ready to hit the stage.
Yeah.
And so I think it's really an evolving tool that I think a lot of people think like, oh, I got there. I figured this out. This is how you fix life. Like, no, there's so many different manners on how to fix things, and it's always something to learn from.
Yeah. So it's a constant process of self-reflection, evaluation, asking those questions
Yes.
that have helped you. That's powerful stuff. Which brings us to the business. How did the idea for your fitness business come into existence? And tell us about the business.
Absolutely. So when I started working on myself and doing the steps I needed in order to make some changes in my life, I was in San Quentin State Prison, which is a pretty famous prison out here in California. And the thing about San Quentin is it has the most opportunities for change because it also has the most people that are doing life sentences, meaning individuals that are, not supposed to ever get out of prison. And so I started participating in all these programs because that's what Fernando was doing. So I started taking classes, anger management, substance abuse, parenting classes. I even did yoga. Like I just did whatever classes they offered because I was like, it's better than what I had been doing.
Yeah.
And so I was taking an entrepreneurship class actually that they had, and it was like led by other inmates, and it was cool, like we got books and homework assignments and things like that. But I remember this one assignment that they gave us. It said, draw a line down the middle, and on one side, write what you're good at. On the other side, write what you enjoy doing. And so when I did that, fitness popped up on both sides. Helping people popped up on both sides.
Mhm.
Right? Now, if I rewind a little bit, when I was growing up, I was super skinny, Jeremy. Like in high school, I was on the freshman wrestling team, and I was so skinny I had to wrestle with the only girl on the team. And her boyfriend was also on the team. So because of that, I got bullied and picked on.
Okay.
And so I started working out at 15 years old. I had no clue what I was doing. I used to see my dad pumping iron in the backyard, so I kind of copied what I saw him do. But I didn't know what I was doing. Over the years, exercise has always been a part of my life. Remember, I've been getting incarcerated since I was 15. And when you're locked in a cage, what else do you have to do but read and work out? That's all we do.
Hmm.
So over the years, I'd always work out. I'd always work out. I'd always work out. And then when I started going to prison and when I was doing my 10-year stint in prison, I got obsessed with actually learning more about it, learning the science, learning the background, the muscles, the body. The first full book I ever read was Arnold Schwarzenegger's Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. And I read that book front to back. Not only did I read that book, but I took notes. I had those yellow legal pads and I took notes and I wrote workout plans. I was like, okay, cool. I can't do an incline barbell press because I don't have weights here in prison, but I could do a decline push up, which mimics the same idea and works the upper chest. And if I go slower, I can create the idea of more tension. And I started figuring these things out. And then people started seeing me changing my body very quickly because I started figuring out what I was doing, right? I started figuring out nutrition. And I know when I went to the chow hall for dinner, people would throw away their beans or their, their green beans or vegetables that they don't want, right? And I'd be like, let me get those. And I would start like gathering like extra beans. I knew I was getting green beans, these foods that people don't want, but I'm consuming higher protein or lower calorie, higher volume foods that are going to make me feel full, but also going to feed my body so I can build more muscle. And so people started to see me go from this like pretty skinny cut. I was skinny and cut up at this point, but I started putting on muscle and they started asking me like, what are you doing? Like, can you help me? Oh yeah, I'll write you a workout plan. I'll write you a nutrition plan. Oh, if you go to Canteen, which is like you can buy stuff from the store there, buy, this cans of tuna and buy this and this and this. And here's a meal plan. And I started like figuring these things out. And I was like, wow, I'm pretty good at this. So now I do this entrepreneurship class and I got these two things that line up and they're like telling us, they're basically the person is telling us like, hey, you have multiple felonies, you're covered in tattoos. It's gonna be hard for you to find a job when you get out. Your best bet is to start your own business. I'm like, I could do that. And so I actually went to the library and I checked out a book on how to write a business plan. It was a business book, right? So it had how to write a business plan, how to apply for grants, all these ideas in there, right? How
Mhm.
to get a logo, like, and I read the business book and I started building a plan. Now, my first plan, Jeremy, isn't what I have now. My first plan is I wanted to get like a huge car hauler and put a gym inside of it and drive the gym around to people. Like I thought that was gonna be like the dopest idea ever.
That is pretty dope.
It is a good idea, but I
Yeah,
don't want to be stuck in a truck all day either, you know?
true. Yep.
And so what ended up happening was got out of prison, right? I took the first job I could get. It was horrible. I worked in a packaging company that made boxes. The job was boring and tedious, but I stayed for overtime and I came in on weekends and I volunteered for extra shifts and I didn't care because I was willing to do whatever it took to be successful. And I earned enough money to pay for my certification. And I got my first certification, as you see behind me. I've got a bunch of them. I got my first certification as a personal trainer. I got a job at Orange Theory Fitness as a group fitness instructor. And I just started learning more about the fitness side of it and actually coaching people in the real life. And then the pandemic hit. And so when the pandemic hit, the world shut down, everyone complained about losing their jobs. And I technically lost my job as well. Like they kept me on to do like some Zoom classes and make phone calls, but I wasn't like coaching classes and doing what I love doing. And so I started running boot camps at parks. I was like, screw it, let's do some boot camps, right? And from a couple of the boot camps, I started having people hit me up like, are you doing any one-on-one training? Like, I could do one-on-one training. So then I started training people one-on-one. So now I'm like building this business at these parks. And eventually I, started acquiring more and more equipment, put a gym in my backyard, started training people in my backyard. From there, I moved into a 550 square foot building, started training people in that building. And here's where I say like my business, and a lot of times it happens if you're an entrepreneur, is it can shift, is because I went from group fitness out of parks to one-on-one in this building. And then from that one-on-one in the building, I decided I didn't want to be trapped inside of a building all day long.
Yeah.
So I started doing online coaching. Started pulling myself out of the building and doing online. I started renting that building out to someone else. He was doing his stuff. Me and him decided to move into a bigger building together. I was going to do one-on-one on one side plus online. He was going to do boxing on the other side, and we are going to just kill it. And then, as you probably know, entrepreneurship ain't for everybody.
No.
Entrepreneurship is not for the weak of heart. It's
No.
hard, hard life to live.
Yes.
Couldn't do it. Unfortunately, this guy could not do it, right? And 4 months into me signing a 5-year lease for both of us, he said, I can't do this, bro. I'm going to go and get a job. So then I had to take over a whole extra 1,100 square feet of the building that I was not prepared for. And after overcoming the stress of all of that, I pivoted again. And so now we do group fitness coaching. So now I do a large group fitness. I have a handful of one-on-ones. I have a handful of online. And that is my current business model. We have about 74 members, right? Most of them are group fitness. A handful of them are my one-on-ones. And then I got a couple online clients still as well.
Wonderful. And so in talking about the coaching, what really characterizes that process for you? Being that mentorship was important to you, having someone to whenever you asked for help when you had your breakthrough, is that experience that you had kind of with you whenever you're helping people one on one?
Absolutely. That is and not just one-on-one, honestly. Like one thing that separates us from probably any other facility in our area is our members actually get my direct support. So I've built out this process and this system where like our members don't just come take classes. Both our group fitness members, my one-on-ones and my online all have access to my app. And in that app, they have access to me. And a couple times a day, I have it in my calendar to go in that app and answer questions and support them and help them and show them. I do posts in there. I educate them. I make videos. I do trainings. I do all this stuff so that my members can really get that full support no matter what tier that they're on. No matter what tier program structure our people work with us at, they're going to get direct support and accountability from me. And that's one thing that separates us probably from any other gym around here. Right. And that's because I understand that at the end of the day, and we started talking, I think it was before we started recording, but about ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
End of the day, anyone listening to this podcast, I'm also live right now. Anyone that's watching this right now, right? Like, or listening to this, you can go to ChatGPT right now and learn everything. ChatGPT can tell you whole everything, whatever you need. Give you a workout plan, give you a meal plan, all that stuff. ChatGPT will not message you and say, hey, I noticed you missed your workout. ChatGPT will not message you and be like, hey, I'm sorry that your dad passed away and that you're struggling right now. How about you just come to the gym and just get a workout and we won't push you too hard, but let's just move your body so you're not thinking about that. ChatGPT won't turn around and be like, hey, I know you guys are struggling on your weight loss journey. Well, hey, I'm Coach Paul and I'm struggling with my current bodybuilding program as well. And I, on Sunday, binge ate some bunch of my kids' snacks, which is what happened. And I shared it with my clients and I shared it on my Instagram and everyone was like, oh my God, you're a real human being. Yes, I am not ChatGPT, right? And so that right there goes back to the idea of mentorship and coaching and knowing that you actually have someone that supports you in your journey. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the information. It's all out there. Google has been around for a long time. YouTube, you can learn any workout, any meal plan. You can learn about the stock market, like all of that stuff's out there. But if you don't have a coach, if you don't have support, if you don't have accountability, you don't have someone that actually cares, you're not going to get there. You're not going to reach the results you're looking for.
100%. And that is funny. In talking about AI, artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, I was telling you how I use it for pretty much everything. And I've got two left hands, man. I can't, when it comes to like domestic things, doing stuff around the house, like I'm good. I can push the mower and pick stuff up and put it down. But like when it comes to building something, I'm not good at it. However, you make a great point here about the coaching piece. And I've had coaches too, and still do in my life and for business. But and this is an angle for entrepreneurs out there. AI is creating lots of business opportunities. Sure, there's a focus on how people are going to lose their jobs because of AI, but you made a really key point here. A robot is never going to replace that human touch, that human connection. And if anything, if there's an area to double down on for entrepreneurs, it's exactly that, the human element, because social media now, we're so disconnected, and having that connection, that coach, that mentor is something that is going to become even more valuable.
Yeah, and what's actually interesting about that is I think a lot of people do have it backwards. They think AI is going to take their job, but really you can use AI to do your job better.
Yes.
Use AI to do 70, 80% of the things in your profession or in your business for you that you're not good at, then you can really excel at the things that you are good at, right?
That's a
And
great
so
way
when I
looking
look
at
at
it.
it, like when I first started my business during the pandemic, I was like writing workout plans by hand. Not by hand, I mean, I was typing them up on Google Docs. I was writing meal plans, typing them up on Google Docs, right? That takes a lot of time. If it takes me 2 hours to build your workout plan by hand and your nutrition plan another 45 minutes to an hour, and then you turn around and you don't like that there's sweet potatoes in your meal plan because that just happened with one of my clients, right? Oh, can we switch out the sweet potatoes? And I have to spend another hour redoing all the math that comes with it to make sure your macros still line up. That's 4 hours I spent on your plan that I couldn't spend on actually being your coach,
Hmm.
actually supporting you, or actually being there for you when you needed me. Nowadays, I can sit there and I have a questionnaire that I can send you. It asks you, what is your goal? What is your weight? What is your height? What is your favorite food? What foods do you hate? And I can take all that, take it to ChatGPT, like, yo, give me a meal plan for my client. And ChatGPT can give me the meal plan in 30 seconds. I can give you that meal plan. You can have that meal plan, which you could have went and found it yourself, but I made the prompt that gets the right information based upon your goals. And now instead of me spending all this time making the meal plan, I can spend more time making sure you follow the meal plan. And if I spend more time making sure you follow the meal plan, it's actually going to work as opposed to you just having a document sitting in your inbox.
Yeah. Yeah. That's brilliant. That's a tremendous way of looking at it, that it does eliminate those tasks that maybe we don't necessarily enjoy, and you could double down on what you're good at, where your passion is, where you feel alive. So that's some great advice to people out there. So just kind of looking at everything again, your story's amazing. Your business, you're successful here. What advice do you have for someone who maybe feels stuck or is in a situation where they feel like they can't get out of their own way? They're struggling. What advice do you have for them to overcome that and to get on the path?
Ask for help. That's the biggest piece of advice. Ask for help. I think so. I have 99% of my members and clients are women, right? And the unfortunate fact of the matter is men have too much ego to ask for help.
Mm.
Most, not all men. I do have a handful of men that work with me, but I get it all the time. People will send me a DM like, yo, Coach Paul, you're ripped, bro. I want to look like you. Like, for sure, bro, I can help you get there. Oh, I don't need a coach. Well, if you didn't need a coach, you wouldn't have a dad bod. End of the day, like you need some help, bro. Like,
Yeah.
women are more likely to ask for help, right? And so what I found is that like if we can learn to ask for help, we can accelerate how quickly we can get to the results we're looking for. Just like when I walked up to Fernando and asked him for help, I was able to get myself out of the rut I was in and I was able to rebuild my life. Just like in the middle of the pandemic when the whole world shut down and everyone was like, oh my God, I don't have a job. What am I going to do? I had a conversation with a business coach. And this is the first coach I ever hired. I got my LLC and I immediately got on a call with him. He was like, my program is $3,000 paid up front. And I had $3,500 in my bank account, Jeremy, and my rent was $500. And I had a little bit of food in my refrigerator, but not enough to last me another 2 weeks. I pulled $3,000 out of my bank account and I gave it to this dude and said, okay, let's go. Right? Because I knew that when I asked for Fernando's help, it changed my life.
Hmm.
So if I ask for this guy's help in my business, it'll change my life. Right. And I realized that like from there, like we're now, over 5 years in business. I have not lapsed a single month where I did not have a coach of some sort guiding me, guiding me and supporting me in my journey. And it's because I consistently ask for help. But now it's like, I've built a support system around me of people I can ask for help, and because of that, I've been super successful. Like I've honestly been more successful than some people that have never been to prison, that have never been addicted to drugs, that have never been homeless. Like I've built and I've only been, last month, I just celebrated 7 years since I got out of prison, right? I did 10 years and I haven't been out of prison as long as I was in just yet.
Wow.
And I'm super successful right now. Like, yeah, there's still areas of growth. Hell yeah, I'm trying to be like extremely successful,
Yeah.
you know. But the reality of it is, I've been able to accomplish more in these 7 years than some people will accomplish in their entire life. And I'm just getting started. And the number one reason for that is I constantly ask for help. I'm stuck. Can you help me? I'm stuck. Can you help me? Now, a lot of that help is from Chat GPT, which is great. I don't have to, I pay $20 a month instead of thousands of dollars a month. But I still have a business coach and I still have a bodybuilding coach and I still have a posing coach. And and I still, like I've worked with a lot of different people that have helped me along the way.
Wow. So there you go. Ask for help. Entrepreneurs out there, traders, looking to get in shape, whatever it is, ask for help.
Yeah.
And Paul's a testament to that, that it's important and can help you get over that hump. So Paul, the channel is Courage Pays Better Than Fear Trading. I'm a stock trader, former high school principal, quit my job, took the risks, that you're talking about as being an entrepreneur. So I definitely understand, where you're coming from. So both trading and entrepreneurship, because I run a coaching business as well, it does require risk taking, resilience, patience. Do you see similarities between building your business and the mindset needed to be a stock trader?
Say that again.
So do you see similarities in the mindset that's needed to be a successful entrepreneur and build your business to be a successful trader of the stock market?
Absolutely, right? And I mean, I don't follow the stock market. I'm not a trader, but this is what I do know is I have people that do like day trading. I know people that do day trading and I've seen them talk about it on their social media and I've talked to them in person and to sit there and be like, okay, I only have $1,000. Either I put that $1,000 in my bank account and it just sits there, or I take that $1,000 and I put it into the stock market and hope if I'm smart about it, if I've hired Jeremy to help me with it, then I should be able to make some money off of it, right? It's the same thing in the entrepreneurship world in building a business. That mindset, okay, so I have coaches, right? I have a business coach. And so I was sitting there talking to my business coach one day, and he was like, hey, man, your ad spend is doing really well. Like, based upon how much you're spending on your ads and your current sales, like, you're like almost 10xing your investment. I said, oh, okay, cool. He said, do you have more money you could throw into ad spend? I was like, I mean, I do have some money set aside just in case. He said, would you bet on you to make your business grow? I'm like, absolutely. He's
Yeah.
like, so why would you let that money just sit there and not collect any money when you could put it into ads, drive more traffic into your gym, sell more people, which is going to make you more money, but also help more people because you've sold more people into your program? I was like, all right, up the ad spend,
Yeah.
right? So it's the
Yeah.
same idea. I would say with day trading and stock market, like you put the money in with the goal of making more money, but you have to take that risk. You
Yeah.
know, if
Yeah.
in my understanding, the more money you put in there, the more opportunity to make more money, right?
Yes. Yep.
But like we keep talking about coaching, like I personally would not sit down and day trade without some help, right? So if that was something I wanted to do, I'd be like, Jeremy, help me
Hey,
out, bro. Let's make
I
this
got
happen. You know?
Paul. I got you. You just hit me up. I'll take care of you, man. Awesome. This is great stuff. So what's next for you for both life and business? I know you recently did a TEDx talk. That's phenomenal.
Yeah, man. I recently did a TEDx talk. I spoke at the University of Miami, and then I did a podcast. I was all in Florida for that. Next step is my bodybuilding show, man. I like to set these really big goals for myself every year at the beginning of the year, and I have a vision board, and I put this vision board out. And so currently, the next step is going to be the bodybuilding show, which is October 4th, which is right around the corner. I'm 3 weeks out from that show. 3 weeks from tomorrow, I'll be hitting the stage. My first time ever doing a bodybuilding show, so I'm really putting myself through the ringer right now to get there. There's another show in November, beginning of November and the beginning of December. So depending on how I do on this first show, I'm thinking I will run the year out and hit two more shows, hit them back to back, and then kind of just take a moment to breathe,
Yeah.
spend the rest of December just focused on my business, eat more food, spend some time with my family for Christmas and enjoy Christmas dinner with my family. And then for the new year, move into the next process of my gym. Our gym is really growing at a pretty fast pace. It grew this year a lot faster than I expected. And so my goal is really to take this, the New Year's is when a lot of people want to get signed up and start working out. So for me, it's like take these next 3 months, focus on the bodybuilding show, build out a better program, build out a better marketing campaign so that when the new year comes, A, I can market better and serve more people, and B, I have a better product or different tiered products so I can help more people as well.
Wow. Great stuff. And where can people follow you, support your work, or connect with you? And I'll make sure that I link that all down in the show notes.
Absolutely. So Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube, it's going to be the underscore coach underscore Paul because I'm the coach Paul. It's THE, right? We're not in the Bible, so there's not an E there. And every time I tell people I say the coach Paul, they add that extra E. So this is not the Bible, but so the coach Paul, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, all under that handle, or just Paul Casey on Facebook. For those that still use Facebook. I am on Facebook, but I'm more popular on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. I do have a podcast as well called Becoming a Better You. We've kind of put a pause on that podcast for now because of this prep for this bodybuilding show is really just taking a lot out of me, and I need to really just focus on my business. But we do have, about 100 episodes out, so we got a good chunk of episodes out. Oh, maybe 50, maybe 75. I don't know. I forgot the count. But anyways, yeah, that's it.
Awesome. We're going to make sure that's all in the description. So anybody watching this, make sure you go check those links out and give Paul a follow. I mean, Paul, I'll tell you, I'm juiced up, man. Just hearing you just not only your story, but just to hear you got the vision board, you're working on the bodybuilding contest, you're thinking ahead to January, you're working on your marketing. You've got a coach, you're doing all these things. And that's really that's the mentality that it takes to succeed at anything in life. And man, I'm so glad we had this conversation because you got me juiced.
Awesome. Love to hear it, man.
And then let's just close with this one final piece of advice for the audience, the most important lesson that you've ever learned, or just final takeaway.
Stop thinking and start doing. I think we live in a world where people think about what they want to do way too much, and if you do more than you think, you're going to succeed a lot faster. You're going to fail a lot faster, and failure is the best teacher. And so if you just start do, you're going to be able to take a look at the mistakes you make along the way and get better over time.
Awesome. That's a mic drop moment. Paul, thanks so much for coming on. Viewers, please let us know down in the comments what stood out to you today most about what Coach Paul had to say. I would love to hear your comment. Make sure you hit that subscribe button. Check out Coach Paul's work at the links in the description, and we'll see you back here for another courage story. Paul, thanks so much.
Pleasure to the sinner as a day begins. All the people gather around and listen so